Hundreds of insurgents, many backed by foreign interests, have been wiped out in Burkina Faso's deadliest counterattack yet. But this isn't just about militants lurking in the bush. Something far darker is unfolding. Why has this West African nation become a battleground? And how did a country dismissed as weak by the West strike such a decisive blow? Burkina Faso, once overlooked, is now a strategic hotspot, not for its resources, but for its defiance. Since 2015, it's been overrun by well-armed militias moving with eerie precision, crossing borders seamlessly, communicating via encrypted apps, wielding weapons too sophisticated for mere rebels. These aren't rogue warlords, they're proxies in a shadow war. The irony? The chaos surged after Burkina Faso expelled foreign forces, particularly French troops. As Western influence waned, the violence grew more calculated, targeting the government's legitimacy. Coincidence? Or a warning to nations rejecting external control? Behind the bloodshed, hidden players profit, foreign mining firms eyeing gold, arms dealers fueling conflict, and powers threatened by an Africa that refuses to kneel. Burkina Faso's fight isn't just against insurgents, it's against the puppeteers pulling their strings. Burkina Faso's wealth isn't in oil, it's in gold, fertile land, and a dangerous idea, sovereignty. That's the real threat. Flood the country with chaos and suddenly humanitarian crises justify foreign intervention, leaders buckle under pressure, and shadowy actors keep the nation weak. But here's the twist. This isn't just random violence. Sources reveal a familiar playbook. Foreign-backed moderate rebels morph into insurgents, armed with weapons too advanced for desert fighters. Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, now the Sahel. Yet Burkina Faso isn't following the script. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a 34-year-old soldier who rose from the trenches, isn't begging for foreign airstrikes. He's asking who's funding the militants, why they're better armed than his troops, and whose interests this chaos really serves. His recent offensive, wiping out hundreds of insurgents, wasn't just a military victory. It was a rejection of the game. But the knives are still out. Every gold mine seized, every village defended, proves Burkina Faso won't kneel. The question is, how far will the puppeteers go to stop a revolution they can't control? They dismissed him as just a young captain, too inexperienced, too brash. But Ibrahim Traoré wasn't playing politics. He was leading a revolution in military boots. While the West labeled him a strongman, Burkinabés saw something different. A leader who sat in bombed-out villages, listening to stories the world ignored. His rise wasn't about power. It was about breaking a cycle. For years, Burkina Faso followed the script. Crisis, Western intervention, endless aid with no real change. Traoré ripped up that script. His first act, kicking out French troops. No apologies, no negotiations. The message was clear. You weren't protecting us. You were protecting your interests. The backlash was instant. Intelligence networks collapsed, aid dried up, and Western media painted him as a dictator. But Traoré didn't care. Democracy had never stopped bullets in Burkina Faso. Then came the gamble, Russian advisors. Not for ideology, but pragmatism. No colonial baggage, no IMF strings, just a partner who didn't treat Burkina Faso like a beggar. The response? A surge in attacks. Targeted, brutal, suspiciously well coordinated. Yet Traoré fought back, arming militias, hunting insurgents, exposing foreign ties to the violence. Now, the real enemies aren't just the gunmen. They're the shadowy figures whispering in corridors, the discontent suddenly brewing among elites. Traoré's sin wasn't tyranny, it was defiance. And in a world that punishes African sovereignty, that's the most dangerous act of all. The whispers started in encrypted telegram channels, coup. Not on the battlefield, but in the barracks. As Burkina Faso's military crushed insurgents in 2025, a deadlier threat emerged, traitors in uniform. Disgruntled officers, intelligence defectors, and mid-ranking soldiers, once loyal, began plotting with the very militants they were meant to fight. Their goal? Not power, but reversal. A return to the old order, where foreign powers called the shots. The plan was surgical. Smear Captain Traoré as unstable, spread chaos in the streets, then strike. A mutiny disguised as democratic restoration. International actors lurked in the shadows, their fingerprints on encrypted messages. But Traoré was ready. Intel had leaked early, names, coordinates, even diplomatic codes. Instead of public crackdowns, he moved silently, letting the plotters expose themselves. The coup collapsed before the first shot was fired. The lesson? In Burkina Faso's revolution, the greatest danger wasn't foreign guns, but the enemies wearing the same uniform. And Traoré, once underestimated, proved he could fight wars on every front. Captain Traoré let the coup plotters dig their own graves. Just as the conspiracy reached its peak, his forces struck, arrests, seized weapons, foreign cash in safe houses. But the real shock wasn't the betrayal, it was who backed it. Intelligence revealed foreign intermediaries, linked to neighboring spy networks, pulling strings from the shadows. These weren't just insurgents, they were diplomats, officers, men who spoke French and wore suits. Traoré's response? A ruthless restructuring. Suspicious officers purged, military loyalty audited, and a new people's intelligence network, villagers reporting on rogue soldiers. Burkina Faso's war had split in two, bullets in the bush, knives in the barracks. Now the conflict mutates again, into ethnic tension. The Fulani, nomadic herders caught between jihadist recruitment and state suspicion, are the new front line. Marginalized, armed by extremists, they're both victims and suspects. Traoré's real test? Fighting an enemy that doesn't wear a uniform, but could be anyone. In this war, trust is the rarest weapon of all. The Fulani people stand at the heart of Burkina Faso's most dangerous paradox. Jihadist recruiters exploit their marginalization, offering cash and purpose to desperate youth, while security forces increasingly view all Fulani with suspicion. When soldiers find entire villages aiding insurgents, providing food, shelter, intel, rage replaces reason. Yet for every complicit Fulani, 100 more are caught in the crossfire, victims of both extremist coercion and military reprisals. Each mistaken raid, each mass grave fuels the insurgents' narrative. See how your country treats you. We are your only protection. Ethnic division isn't just collateral damage, it's strategy. A fractured Burkina Faso is easier to control, its sovereignty easier to undermine. But something extraordinary is unfolding. Fulani elders are pushing back, denouncing insurgents, forming self-defense units, even turning former jihadists into informants. This isn't the ethnic war the world expects. It's a fragile, hard-won unity forged under fire. The real battle isn't just against extremists, it's against the narratives that paint Burkina Faso as doomed. Because every Fulani elder who stands with the state, every reintegrated fighter, proves a nation can resist division, if given the chance. The question is, will the world see their struggle, or just the chaos part of it? When Captain Ibrahim Traoré's forces strike insurgent hideouts, Western headlines scream human rights abuses. When they foil a foreign-backed coup, they're branded authoritarian. But ask yourself, why is a nation defending itself constantly put on trial? The answer is simple. Burkina Faso is breaking the rules. Traoré's government has dared to reject French military control, expose the failures of Western peacekeeping, and forge alliances outside the colonial playbook. It's investing in its own industries, not just exporting raw materials to Europe. This defiance, not the insurgency, is the real threat. Because in the eyes of global powers, an Africa that doesn't beg for help is dangerous. Now, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a united front against foreign meddling. Insurgents who once moved freely across borders are being hunted down. Villagers for the first time are refusing jihadist demands, believing their government might actually protect them. But the backlash is brutal. Sanctions, frozen aid, media smear campaigns. The message is clear. Insurgency is tolerable, independence is not. Because for the West, this was never about saving Burkina Faso, it was about controlling it. And Traoré's greatest crime? Proving Africans don't need permission to fight back. Against all odds, Burkina Faso is rewriting the rules, shunning foreign dependence for local arms production, rejecting IMF shackles for equitable partnerships, and forging a unique alliance between army, civilians, and traditional leaders. It's messy, unapologetically African, and that terrifies the establishment. If this landlocked nation can resist coups, insurgency, and sanctions while reclaiming sovereignty, what's stopping others? This isn't just a fight for survival, it's a quiet revolution. The world faces a choice: support true African independence or keep smothering it under the guise of counter-terrorism. The Sahel is watching. Who will join this rebellion of self-determination? Like this, subscribe for more untold stories of Black resilience. Black Post. This is where we break down the headlines they don't want you to understand, with clarity, truth, and a Pan-African lens. If you're passionate about Africa's future and fed up with filtered narratives, you're in the right place. So go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to stay plugged into the movement.